hours after the Trump administration announced it will only accept 18,000 refugees this year, CBN News learned about refugee families set to board planes for the U.S. only to have their dreams dashed at the last moment. Nate Bolt with Bethany Christian Services was working with some of those families on the verge of relief.
They gave everything away that they had in the refugee camp, the pots that they cook with, their extra clothes, because they weren't going to need it anymore. They were going to be resettled to the United States and reunified with their family. They slept outside the office that was going to bring them to the airport the next day, and when the workers arrived, they had to tell them that their flights were canceled.
Since the refugee resettlement program began 40 years ago, the U.S. has never taken this few refugees. According to the State Department, 80% of the world's people live in countries where their religious freedom is threatened. How does that reality translate into refugee numbers?
What we're seeing is people fleeing oppressive countries and needing to resettle in a safe place.
Mayenza says Americans often confuse the chaos at the southern border with refugees.
A refugee is somebody that can't go back. The conditions are so bad for them that if they go back, it won't be safe.
Advocates say refugees resettled in the U.S. aren't living off U.S. taxpayers. In the long run, they end up paying significantly more in taxes than the cost of assistance.
When a refugee is resettled to the United States, they have 90 days, just 90 days, to not only survive in the United States, but to thrive and provide for their families. After that, U.S. government assistance is cut off, and they must have jobs and be contributing taxpayers back to the economy.
And while advocates say no White House has been stronger on religious freedom than that of President Trump's, UN data shows when the U.S. takes fewer refugees, other countries follow its lead. And that's troubling to many evangelicals.
Christ is very clear, especially in his parable about the Good Samaritan, about what his followers' obligations are. And it's to welcome the stranger, to welcome a neighbor.
You know, some have called this a dismantling of the U.S. refugee program. Is that the way you would characterize that?
Well, I've been told by people in the industry that it does dismantle the infrastructure. So I do think it will be more costly to build back up again if we decide that we're going to accept additional refugees.
In the coming year, advocates hope the administration realizes it can address illegal immigration while also extending a hand to refugees desperate for a safe place to live. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.